Hey guys, what is going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. And today we're going to feature one of those products that might come in kind of handy when you go camping, or might be nice to have for an emergency situation if you got to bug out, or if the weather gets bad and the power goes out, you want a way to be able to cook food or boil water. We're going to try to show you some options. And so this is the first time I've ever had any kind of experience with these two products. So I'm coming into this as a bit of a noob. So if you guys have any advice for these products, make sure you leave the suggestions down below in the video. So what we have here on the right hand side is the Coghlans folding stove. This is the kind of stove that's going to use sterno or camp heat, and it's going to allow you to cook food, boil water, etc. It measures 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches by 5 inches. I paid $15.75 for it over on Amazon. And in order to power this stove, I guess you could say, we've got some Coghlans camp heat. Now this is $5.99 on Amazon, and I'm going to tell you, don't buy it off Amazon. There were tons of people complaining about how the cans leak. When they get shipped, they get dumped, they get flipped over, the seals aren't very good in them. And sure enough, I've got half of my package just kind of soaked in this camp heat. So I got to be very careful with this because this is going to be flammable. So we want to dispose of this properly. Obviously, it's, fuel-soaked paper, essentially. So we're actually going to open up the left-hand can, and this is the can that we're going to use today when we cook with it. The camp heat is good for about 4 hours of burn time per can. Like I said, it's $5.99. Your local Walmart may have it. Mine didn't, unfortunately, which is why I had to order it off of Amazon. But again, I can see coming in very, very handy, especially in Nebraska, where I live, in Tornado Alley. We have the power go out for many hours at a time. I'm just going to say right now, don't use this indoors, even though they talk about using it indoors and saying you can cook in the home and so on. It says that the vapor is harmful. So I don't know if they mean the vapor before it's burning or after it's burning, but I'm actually going to be using this down in a ventilated garage. It's super windy out today, and I just want to make sure you guys don't have to battle the wind noise as we're testing it. But I'm just going to recommend against you using this in a tent or using this indoors. Try to use it outdoors if you can, if at all possible, and you may need to do a little more research on your own. But let's go ahead and take a look at the product. Let's check out the folding stove and see what it says. Unfortunately, I don't have a scale, so I can't give you the weight. I'm going to guess it's probably around, maybe 8 or 9 ounces. It's not super heavy. The fact that it folds up in this little box will make it easy for you to pack and take with you if you ever got to go out on the road. So let's see what this thing actually looks like. It's all together. It's one piece. It's a nice aluminum construction or steel construction. I like that. Let's check real quick and see if we have any kind of a warranty. So on the back of it, they do talk about the basic features of it. It says that it is built for camp heat cans, but it also works with many types of canned fuel or artificial solid fuel. Coated steel construction, strong enough to hold a heavy pot. Front door and sides protect the flame from the wind, which is nice to have. And then they show some of the accessories and so on. So let's just go ahead and fold it open. The unit itself is a pretty good size. I think you could get a small pot on here, a small cooking pot, maybe like maybe a 1-quart pot would fit on here. Also, you could put your tin mug on here if you want to heat it up for some coffee. Okay, so it just folds open. It's going to fold out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just bring it across here. Looks like we have some little tabs that all lock into each other here. Okay, so we'll take a look at it when you assemble. It's very simple. You just got to pull the 2 tabs into the sides at the same time. It'll pop together. It's a nice flat surface. It has a bit of a dip in it to keep your fuel from moving out, which is important. Looks like it has decent blocking for wind. So just a little bit flimsy, but once you get it locked into place, you're good to go. Go ahead and fold the little flap around. It looks like there's a little, you just simply hook it up on the front aluminum right here, the steel, and it sets into place. So assembly took me about 10 or 15 seconds without actually looking at the manual. It's nice and sturdy. I'm pressing on it with a decent amount of force. It's not collapsing. Okay, not bad, not bad. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the camp fuel out, and I'll give you a few little warnings about that stuff. And we'll fire it up, let the can of heat get nice and warm, and then we'll see if we can just boil some water and test it and see how well it works. Okay, so we're out in the garage. We're in a nice ventilated area. I'm doing this on top of my toolbox, basically, on wheels, so in case I need to push this out in the driveway, if anything would catch on fire, we'll be able to do so. You want to be very careful with this canned heat. You don't want to get this camp heat. You don't want to get it on your fingers because it would ignite. It is highly flammable. So keep the gel off your hands. You could wash your hands if you want to before you light it up. And let's go ahead and start it up. So we could have a bit of a flare up initially, and then after a couple minutes, it's going to kind of trim itself down a little bit as the wick starts to burn away some of the excess. You can pull the wick up more if you want to, obviously, before you light it if you need more flame. We're just going to go with it as is, right out of the can, and we'll see how it responds. Now we're gonna light it outside of the oven. I think that's probably the safest way to do so, or outside of the stove. Also, if it happens to flare up a little bit and you get kind of scared, you can always just drop the cap on the top and that will put the flames out. All right, let's go ahead and open it up and see what happens. Or let's light it up and see what happens. Okay, it is burning right now. It's basically invisible. There's a lot of heat coming off of it. I can feel it. Oh yeah, it's got some heat. You don't have a visible flame, so you need to be very careful with that. Don't go down and touch it, even though you can't see the flame. It is actually running right now. So we're gonna go ahead and move it up into the stove. Stove's gonna get hot too. Keep that in mind. It's gonna be conducting heat. Here we go. Here, let's get that a little bit closer to see if you can see the flame coming off of it here. You can kind of see the flame up here in the top part, up right over there. So there we go. After about 5 or 6 seconds, you start to see more of that flame popping up. Okay, so we just have a regular cooking pot. Now I know if you're camping, you might use a thinner metal that's going to conduct heat better, but if you're in your home and say the power goes out, you're going to grab whatever you have, which is just a traditional pot that you might have in the kitchen. And we just have a bottle of room temperature water in it. It's about 75 degrees out right now, and so you know, this isn't necessarily cold weather conditions. I might be boiling water a little bit faster than you would, say, in the wintertime. But we're going to go ahead and put this on, and I'll let you know how long it takes for the water to start boiling. So here's the setup. You can see the oven. You can see the pot. We've got the timer running right now. We're only 30 seconds in. You know, even though I'm standing about 2 feet away from this thing, I can still feel a pretty decent amount of heat radiating off of it. I'm surprised from such a small source that it does generate so much heat. Smell-wise, I don't really notice anything at all, but like I said, with those vapors, I can't recommend you do this indoors. Maybe it's okay to do so, maybe not, but I would just recommend you do it in a well-ventilated area. A little update for you. We are at 11 minutes and 35 seconds, and we're starting to get some steam there. This is a pretty good sign. The pot itself is fairly warm. The top of the surface is hot. I did, just for the heck of it, just kind of tap the sides and the front. This is not cool to the touch, but it's also tolerable if you happen to bump it or push up against it. I don't think you're going to burn yourself, but definitely stay away from the top. And we'll keep her going until she boils. Okay, we are at 32 minutes, and we don't have a rolling boil in terms of the water, but we do have a lot of bubbles going on, some condensation, a lot of steam. The water is too hot for me to put my finger in for more than just a second or two. It really is that hot. It would be perfect for a nice cup of coffee if you wanted to go that route, or if you wanted to heat up a can of soup. I think it's going to do the job. But man, if you double the water in this, I don't know how hot it's really going to get. Of course, we are just dealing with one flame, and that's all. But I mean, overall, I'm still pretty impressed with it. It's still doing a good job. It'd be a lot safer than cooking it over a fire. And we'll go 15 minutes, and then in 45 minutes, we'll let you know how it's looking. If it hasn't changed, we'll just go ahead and call off the test. Okay, so we are over 45 minutes right now. Again, no rolling boil, but we do have, again, the bubbles, the steam, the heat. The water is too hot for me to touch. Again, I don't think you'd have any trouble heating up a can of soup if you wanted to. Kind of depends on what your use is going to be. If you just want an emergency method to heat things up, I think this is going to work okay for you. Otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and put out the flame, and we'll just bring it back for a final evaluation. And by the way, if you can't get the cap on it, you know, you probably shouldn't push the can out because it's going to be hot. You don't want it to roll out. Just go ahead and blow on it really hard, and it will go ahead and put the fire out. Okay, so what are my final thoughts on this? You know, you got to be careful with the cans of camp heat because, as we've seen, it does leak out of the seals if you try to carry it around with you. So obviously, you want to keep the cans upright if you're backpacking and so on. You know, for a little over 20 bucks for the stove and the camp heat, I think it'd be convenient for some light camping. Maybe if you don't want to mess around with a fire pit or don't have access to a fire pit or a grill, you know, you could get water, like I said, hot enough to the point that you could do some mild cooking with it. Unfortunately, it did not pass the boiling water test for us, but it also doesn't suck at the same time. It's better than having nothing. I'd rather have food heated with a folding stove than cold food. I think we'll do a part 2 at some point where we just put a can of soup directly on the burner and see if it gets it hot enough to maybe get it boiling or bubbling, and also maybe try like a can of pork and beans and just see how hot it gets it after 15 or 20 minutes. And because that'd be another option, just be to put the cans directly on the burner and go from there. So anyway, that's my take on it. You know, it doesn't take up a lot of room. It's relatively inexpensive. I think it's something to consider picking up, especially if you are in an area that could be prone to having electrical outages, or you got a storm season you have to worry about, or you just want to get a couple of these to have them around to heat some food up for emergencies. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So anyway, guys, this is Travis P11. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out the channel. We've also got a little podcast that we do called Caliber Corner, which we have on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. We talk guns and ammo and have a great time. But in the meantime, check out the channel, like and subscribe. You guys have fun, be safe, and as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye.